Democratic Alliance has revealed that provincial leader Solly Msimanga will be its Gauteng premier candidate. It's ahead of the 2024 elections. Msimanga joins us on the line. Mr. Msimanga, good evening to you. Thanks for your time. So, second time around the rodeo, at least in this regard. What makes you think 2024 will be different to 2019?
Well, very good evening to you, Kathy, and to the viewers of Newzroom. First of all, the numbers in terms of polling look very, very different now compared to 2019. That's the first thing. The second thing is that we have taken a decision here in Gauteng that instead of going, full bash on the ANC in terms of their failures, we're not going to do that. What we are going to do is instead reinstill the sense of hope, a sense of duty for the voters that are registered and not voting, and those that are not registered but are eligible to be registered, to come out, register, and to make sure that they vote, for that dream of 1994 in 2024. And this is something that, we think is going to be very, very different and work in our favor going forward.
If we take a look at the local government elections, if they are to be believed as a reflection of anything really, what we have seen is a diversification of political parties, more smaller entrants coming into the space, and not necessarily having a consolidation of those who are not voting ANC vote DA.
Well, true, but also those that have come in haven't really been able to then sustain themselves, and this is something that is very much telling about, the psyche of the South African voters. And this is why we are saying, instead of us, going on and on about, opposing and all, going on about fighting other small parties, we are going to go out there, engage with the South African, more specifically the people of Gauteng, in terms of what our alternative is. And we're hoping that we should be able to then enthuse and also be instill a sense of hope, to those that have lost hope in the South African political system, and hopefully that will drive them to come out and vote for parties that have a realistic chance of, bringing them a stable government and going forward.
What do you mean that they haven't been able to sustain themselves?
Well, if you look at, the parties that came in, I'm not going to mention parties by name, but if you go into the IEC, election results since the previous elections and a number of by-elections where they would have actually then contested, you realize that they're not doing very, very well. And in certain instances, there seems to have actually even dropped significantly in areas that they would have otherwise gained some serious momentum in the previous election. So that then tells you that there is actually then a shift, that, the excitement seems to be disappearing as it was. And then that will mean that going forward, the voters will have a choice on whether to, prop up and continue with the same, will be the ANC, or whether they will be able to then give another party that has a realistic chance of really taking over government.
So, Mr. Msimanga, ultimately, you're trying to convince residents of this province that you should be the guy who is leading up the province, in the position of premier. But what are you really offering? Why must they pick you above everybody else?
Thank you very much for asking that. I think that's the question that we should have started with. But what we are offering here is we're offering a complete alternative to what the ANC has done. First of all, I have been communicating. I think on one platform I've communicated to you about something that we have been proposing, and that is what we call the infrastructure master plan for Gauteng. That is something that doesn't exist at this point in time, that should be able to then bring municipalities together, for municipalities to be able to then deal with issues of water, electricity, roads, infrastructure in this province. The second thing is we have been calling for a very long time for the specialized unit for devolving of power from a national perspective to provincial perspective in terms of safety and security, that we're able to then have, a special unit that will deal with the zamazamas, or the illegal mining, that will have a unit that will deal with gangs in Gauteng, places like Rivali, El Dorado Park and the surrounding, that will be able to then deal with, and help municipalities to climb back and reclaim some of the hijacked spaces that we see are being hijacked. Those are some of the units that we want to then see being brought back, and also to help municipalities in terms of bylaw enforcement, that we're able to then start cleaning and reclaiming some of these spaces. The third thing is the issue of the economy. Now, if you take care of the first two things that I spoke to, you're able to then demonstrate to the private sector that you are serious about putting your money and investing in ensuring that there is an environment which will then be able to then attract investors to come and invest here, so that we can then get the economy going again. These are some of the three things that we want to then talk to, and these are things that we have been talking to or trying to get the current government to put into place, but clearly they're not interested, and this is why this is going to form a core part of our campaign message going forward.
Are you going to attempt coming to power on your own, or are you already, under the Moonshot Pact, working around what the coalitions, potential coalitions for Gauteng might be?
Well, I don't think that there's any team that goes into a game hoping not to win. So we're going to throw everything at it. But as things stand, as the polling stand, we are ahead of the ANC in Gauteng, but we are not at a 50+1. So, and this is 8 months before the election. So we're going to be campaigning as hard as we possibly can. Hopefully we're going to get to that. But even in the Moonshot Pact, the parties are going to be campaigning on their own steam. Obviously with an understanding that, if any of us are not able to then get to the 50+1 on our own, what is the system that is then going to kickstart in order to be able to put government together, and also to be able to then sustain that government and be able to then be held accountable to those that would have voted for us, and to be able to then deliver lastly.
In 2019, you were equally hopeful, Mr. Msimanga, and that didn't turn out well.
Well, Kathy, as I said to you, the numbers look very, very differently. The challenges look very, very differently. And if you were to then look at 2019 compared to 2021, compared to 2016, there is a number, there's a trajectory that tells us or there's a story that is emerging from there. And if you were to then look at that, you realize that the numbers are significantly changed from 2019, from 2021, and where we are right now. And this is why we do believe that it is going to be very, very different compared to the previous time.
All right, polling is different, numbers are different, but so is the competition. That is Solly Msimanga, who is the Gauteng premier candidate for the Democratic Alliance.